for the last. Senator Cotton.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your appearance again, and thank you for your service to our country. General Miller, let me just follow up on what you just said about sustained funding. So we passed a budget a couple months ago. Last month, we passed a spending bill for this fiscal year. I don't think we should spike the football about those things, though. Those were long overdue. We still have to pass a defense appropriations bill for the next fiscal year. So is the point you're making, and Secretary Esper, you made it to Chairman Inhofe, is that you needed Department of Defense appropriations bills done in a timely and predictable fashion this summer?
Absolutely, Senator. If timeliness is critical to that, if not, what it does is push back our spending authority. If we are under a CR, as you know, we are not allowed new starts. We are not allowed to spend money greater than the previous year funding level. We are not able to procure additional munitions. It impacts training because we have reduced O&M dollars. So there are any number of reasons why the timeliness is critical to ensuring we are able to maintain the positive glide slope we're on with regard to readiness.
And that carries us out to the next fiscal year 2019, that is covered by the two-year budget we just passed. But we still have fiscal year 2020 and 2021 ahead of us, about 16, 18 months away, for which the Budget Control Act and sequestration still comes into effect. Is it your judgment that Congress needs to act now to stop that kind of sequestration from even looming over the Army's head come the summer of 2019?
Yes, sir, for all the services. It's critical to all of us achieving our readiness goals. And with regard to the Army in particular, as I said earlier, we endured 7, 8, 9 years of following budgets, a very high operational pace. It's going to take many years to get out of that. And if you step back, we have this goal of achieving our readiness status by around 22. It's that point in time where we really want to start making significant investments and start fielding, prototyping the next generation of technologies that we've outlined in our modernization priorities.
General Milley.
Absolutely, Senator. I mean, you're not going to dig out of a 10-year trough, 8-year trough in readiness and modernization. You're not going to do that in 2 years. It's not one and done sort of thing. So it has to be consistent. It has to be predictable over time. And the sequestration, the BCA caps, they just need to go away. It's an incredibly inefficient means of funding when we're only given part of the year to spend. And with industry, it's not predictable, so you can't do long-term contracts. And there's a wide variety of reasons why it is not an effective or efficient means of using the taxpayer dollars. It needs to go away.
Yeah. So the Budget Control Act was designed to have 8 years of potential sequestration cuts if budget caps weren't met. We've now gone through 3 iterations of 2-year budget cycles. I predict that if we don't repeal the Budget Control Act, we'll have a 4th iteration in 2020 and 2021 before that law expires. So I think Congress should just repeal it outright this summer. General Milley, I want to return to what you said about readiness. So you predict that barring some significant increase in the demand for land forces, all Army elements will meet your readiness goals by 2021, 2022?
That's the glide path I'm currently estimating. That's correct.
And where are brigade combat teams today?
I don't want to give specific numbers in open testimony. I would be happy to do it in classified testimony, but it's in the range of 50%.
Where were they when you took this job 3 years ago?
Significantly less than that. When I came in 2.5 years ago, we had 2 brigades at the highest level of readiness. Okay,
good work. Secretary Esper, I'd like to turn to a point about long-range fires that has a policy implication. So Department of Defense, Department of State have long recognized and acknowledged publicly that Russia is violating the INF Treaty. If Russia continues to violate the INF Treaty and the United States continues to observe the INF Treaty, doesn't it stand to reason that there's no way the United States can make up the gap in long-range fires in Europe?
It is. We are looking at hypersonics as a potential way, a promising way to be able to reach beyond the treaty constraints imposed by the INF. So that's one option, but clearly, as I've spoken to industry, if that constraint did not exist now, we could certainly do it with missiles.
It'd be the easier way to do it than developing hypersonics that might be compliant.
Probably easier and quicker, although hypersonics have some benefits that in terms of volume of fire and other things that you can do, but yes.
General Milley, I'd like to turn to an operational aspect of another one of the 6 modernization priorities, the network, and specifically fighting in a denied environment. Both of you have discussed with me how we're working with our soldiers to make sure that they can go back to the old-fashioned way of fighting with compass and map and so forth, and the call for fire and navigation and what have you. If that were to happen, if our soldiers had to fight in a denied environment, surely the enemy soldiers would also be fighting in a denied environment as well, right? There's no situation in which, to use the football term, it won't be raining on both sides of the field?
No, I think that all modern militaries are incredibly reliant on very sophisticated command control communication systems, reliant on space systems, GPS, precision and navigation and timing capabilities. All modern militaries rely on those, and those are vulnerable for all forces. So yes, I guarantee that any adversary that takes on the United States will be operating in a significantly degraded environment.
So if our soldiers are using compasses and hand and arm signals, so to speak, to put it in colloquial terms, their soldiers will be using compasses and hand and arm signals.
I would imagine that that is very likely.
Do you have any doubt that our soldiers fighting on those terms are going to be able to defeat their soldiers?
Well, as you know, that our Army, like modern armies, we're very reliant on these things for navigation and for precision munitions and for calling in close air support. And it's important that we have systems that are resilient, that are capable of operating in degraded environments, and that our soldiers are trained to do so. I'm confident that our soldiers' ability to operate in a degraded environment is improving. A couple of years ago, we started doing cyber operations against ourselves out at the National Training Center. It's a very effective way to increase the training levels and the comfort of our soldiers to operate in those environments. So it's not going to be a perfect world. Combat's not a perfect environment. It's a very lethal environment, and it is something that we'll have to adapt and overcome, the ability of operating in a degraded electronic warfare environment. There's no question about it.
Thank you, gentlemen. My time has expired.